They've been saying that Draco the Ruler was killed by the Bloods that might have had a connection to YG, but now the security guard that was apparently part of the entourage guarding Draco the Ruler at the music festival where he was murdered after being stabbed in the neck is now apparently identifying YG as one of the people who was on the scene with a blade. Now, he was just detained briefly yesterday, and now we're hearing that YG might have been identified as one of the people that was actually brandishing a shank backstage. So I've got the latest kind of reporting that's come out about this. It's in an article in the LA Times that's just come out. So I'm going to kind of react to this and give you some commentary about the article that's just broken. I'm seeing this all over social media, and I want to just run through this and give you my thoughts as we go, because I know the story pretty well, but I never would have expected that YG was actually one of the people brandishing the knife. That's caught me off guard. This is in the LA Times. It just came out. It said Draco security guard says YG brandished knife during the fatal backstage brawl. That is insane. So apparently it was during a courthouse deposition. A former security guard for LA rapper Draco the Ruler says that he personally saw a masked YG and two others in his entourage brandishing short blades moments before Draco was stabbed at the Once Upon a Time in LA festival in 2021. YG has repeatedly denied involvement in Draco's death, saying he learnt about the killing after arriving at the festival, and law enforcement searched a Burbank property this week and briefly detained YG as they continue to investigate the murder. So it's sounding like maybe there's a lot more going on that meets the eye than what we first initially thought. So, oh no, hang on. So this says a former security guard for Draco the Ruler testified under oath that he saw rapper YG produce a knife and slash it towards him during the 2021 backstage fight in which Draco was fatally stabbed, according to recently obtained deposition excerpts. So they've got these new deposition excerpts, but what is crazy is we've seen this footage of like Draco, you know, facing off with, they were saying it could be as many as 100 Bloods, and there was people in YG's 400 merch, but really there was like a core group of people, and there is a video going around that kind of showed somebody swinging a knife towards Draco, and him kind of stumbling back, and then the next thing we saw, he was on the ground bleeding out from the neck. But to come to find out that YG might have been one of the core people swinging a knife is absolute insanity. I'm shocked. So it says Alric Cooper III, who was part of Draco's security detail at the Once Upon a Time in LA Fest, said YG was front and center, that's a quote, during the December 18th, 2021 brawl, and was one of three men that he saw carrying what appeared to be a short improvised knife. That's crazy. When they say improvised, it does kind of make me wonder, like, how improvised are we talking? Were they just short knives? Were they box cutters that were being used as knives? The word improvised knives is a little bit unusual. I'm wondering exactly what that means. So he went on to say that YG, real name Keenan Jackson, was wearing a ski mask, but he recognized the rapper's hazel eyes as he tried to protect Draco, whose legal name is Daryl Caldwell Jr. And representatives of YG didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. I'm not surprised, but they said that he got hazel eyes. Now, I've heard people talk about hazel eyes. Sometimes I'm like, wait, what color's hazel eyes again? So these are hazel eyes, all right? Now, I did actually see some people commenting on this situation already, that YG didn't have hazel eyes. So let's do a little eye test for YG. So let's just see like YG close up. So the hazel eyes, it's almost like the light brown sort of like, it's got a little sparkle to it, sort of light brown, beige kind of color. So does YG have hazel eyes? I'm not sure if I'm seeing hazel eyes, if I'm completely honest with you. They do look kind of dark in some of these images. That's looking a little hazel, to be honest, that one. That pic's looking a little hazel. This looks like they've edited it to be kind of more on the hazel side. These ones are looking... This is sort of a... I don't know what color I would describe that as, but I don't know if I'd say hazel. Google Images kind of sucks when it comes to actually like zooming in and getting a closer look at what you actually want to see. But I don't know if they're strictly looking like the hazel eyes that I saw in the sort of close-up example on the last page. This page is just completely glitching. That's not him. So, yeah, I don't know. Has he got hazel eyes? Are we calling them... Can we really say hazel eyes? I'm not sure. And now we're just seeing people that aren't even him. So, I don't know if I... You guys tell me. I'm not seeing them strictly looking hazelish to me, if I'm completely honest with you. I'm not saying that they're not. I mean, in this one, I would say he looks kind of, the way the light's glinting off it, it looks like it could be more on the kind of brown, beigey, hazel color side. But at the same time, we're not seeing real... I mean, here they're not looking too hazel at all, to be honest with you. I mean, definitely could be a light brown, but yeah, I wonder how much credence will be given to that. So it says the excerpts come from Cooper's March the 19th, 2025 deposition, which surfaced last month in a court filing by attorneys representing Draco's family in a civil lawsuit against festival organizers and security contractors. It adds more context to the fight after law enforcement investigating the killing searched a Burbank property and detained YG in the process on Thursday. The California Highway Patrol, with help from the Burbank Police Department SWAT team, briefly detained YG while officers searched the property, and he was released after the search and was not arrested. Now, what's really interesting is I saw the footage of this alleged... Well, I saw the images of outside this alleged search yesterday, and interestingly enough, I ended up seeing sort of another news report on it that looked completely different, and the location looked completely different. Let me see if I can pull that up for you, because I didn't show that to you yesterday. And it looked a lot more like a house. It was clearly his house. It was clearly a mansion. Okay, for the record, I had a little closer look at this, and I think it was actually older stuff. So this was going around as rapper YG briefly detained in Burbank, what we know, and obviously there was this footage.
Murder of a rapper.
It was this footage here. Let's turn that off and just show you the footage. It was this kind of, well, at least an image or footage. What have they done to this? Of him outside the warehouse. We don't need all these Draco clips, do we? So I guess that's him being kind of... just sort of moved to a different area. They're searching this property. This is the Burbank SWAT team, whole SWAT unit out there.
Evidence they believe could help advance the nearly 5-year-old homicide investigation. But Gorin says a search warrant is not the same as an arrest, and YG has not been charged.
So, you know, he obviously hasn't been charged. Yeah. But we're going to be hearing more about what's going on as time goes on. I think there will be more to it. I did see another article with this image going around of his home being raided. They said that that was due to a deputy-involved shooting. But I don't think this was the same incident. It said he was briefly detained after they searched a commercial property. It said the agency, along with Burbank, served the warrant. And it said he was detained during the execution of the search warrant. So I think this was old footage of his home.
1600 block of Blue Jay here. This is in the Hollywood Hills, above Hollywood. A big turnout from the Los Angeles Police Department and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. This is all surrounding a pursuit that took place involving the LA County Sheriff's Department back on July 3rd. An SUV that was registered to the rapper YG was involved in that pursuit. There were some shots fired. We're hearing that one innocent pedestrian was struck as a result of the gunfire that was exchanged between the suspects in that SUV and deputies. One deputy was injured as well. LAFD is up here as well.
So this really wasn't relevant. Obviously a beautiful home there. And I guess this was reported on the news, on the local news. He definitely getting some money. Got the Lambo out front and just an enormous property. So very, very impressive. But this was a different incident for the record. So it says YG's repeatedly denied involvement in Draco's death. On his June 2026 song We Know the Truth, he rejected allegations connecting him to the killing, and he said that he learned after arriving to the festival that someone had been stabbed. A CHP spokesperson said the agency cannot comment as this is an ongoing and open investigation. When asked if YG was a suspect or person of interest, no one's been arrested in the ongoing murder case, and the NBC in Los Angeles reported the warrant was served as part of a continuing homicide investigation, with CHP telling NBC that YG, all these letters are crazy. CHP told NBC that YG wasn't present when officers arrived and was released when the search was completed. Draco's son and other relatives, along with Cooper, sued Live Nation, C3 Presents, Bobby D Presents, and several security contractors in February 2022, alleging the companies involved in staging and securing the festival failed to protect Draco from a foreseeable attack. YG is not a defendant in that lawsuit. Now, he's not yet, but if he ends up actually being identified as one of the people that did this, who knows, there could be civil suits coming, all types of stuff coming. We're hearing that, you know, David's about to be getting hit with a civil suit, so it could be coming next. Says Cooper testified Draco's group was confronted by at least 20 to 25 people backstage. When asked whether he recognized anyone in the opposing group, Cooper named only YG. They said he was directly involved in the fight, an attorney for Draco's family asked. Yeah, Cooper answered, front and center. Cooper said the attackers divided into groups and surrounded Draco's party near the artist entrance. Some wore red clothing, ski masks or hoodies, and Cooper said festival security personnel failed to intervene and instead closed 2 gates that could have provided an escape route. Said they actually closed the gates and trapped us into where we couldn't leave, Cooper testified. According to his account, one exit was blocked by security personnel while attackers swarmed the other side of the backstage area. And the footage, I would say the footage low-key does kind of reflect that. There was a gate, people were trying to run through a gate. It looked like it was a difficult getting through that gate, all type of stuff. And I do think there was probably some really dodgy stuff going on behind the scenes. It says Cooper said he initially struck one of the approaching men and momentarily lost his footing. He then found himself fighting YG and a man he described as YG's bodyguard, with Draco positioned a foot or two behind him and to his right. And then YG produced a knife from his left hand, Cooper testified, describing the weapon as appearing to emerge from Jackson's sleeve. When I saw that, I just backed up. I'm not going to lie, that's very, very bad news for YG. This is straight up public testimony that he was involved, he was there, and we ain't hearing about no one else. We ain't hearing any of these other famous names. I ain't hearing no Frankenstein, I ain't hearing no Gloves. All I'm hearing is YG. That's a really bad look. So it says, as the confrontation continued, Cooper said the attackers moved towards Draco and swarmed over him. Police arrived almost simultaneously, according to Cooper, and begun breaking up the fight. So it said there were 3 men with knives. Cooper described the weapon he attributed to YG as a silver blade, approximately 3 or 4 inches long. He said he didn't see a handle and compared its appearance to an improvised prison shank. What on earth were they doing with the prison-style shanks at the festival? I mean, maybe that's all they could get into the venue. Maybe whoever was sneaking those blades in, like, that's all that was easy to get in there. Maybe they improvised with something that was already inside there. But that is diabolical that that's what they were using. Says he was slashing at me with it, like getting me to back up, Cooper testified. He said he wasn't stabbed. Cooper said that he saw 2 other men standing near YG with similar weapons. He described one man as being immediately beside YG and another as positioned behind and between them. Cooper said he concluded the men were armed after observing movements that differed from ordinary punching. He said, once I saw the stabbing, jabbing motion, Cooper testified he tried to move away from those individuals. And I think, like, if you went back and watched the footage of, you know, the immediate aftermath or even just the moments before the alleged stabbing, it looks like they're swinging. And I agreed. I think I broke it down in my kind of documentary about Draco when this footage was around. It didn't look like a punch. It didn't look like swings. It looked almost, they looked like slashes to me, to be honest with you. The way the hands were held in these motions, from at least what I could see from what very little footage was circulating, looked like knife work to me. It says Cooper described one of the other men as a bald black man, approximately 5'9", or 5'10", with light brown or hazel eyes and a blue patterned crew neck shirt. He described the third as similarly sized black man with dreadlocks, but he said he couldn't remember the man's clothing. Cooper said he estimated YG was approximately 6'1" or 6'2". It says, identifying him behind a mask. Cooper acknowledged the person he identified as YG was wearing a black balaclava that exposed only the area around his eyes. He said the man also wore a black bomber-style jacket, black pants with red stripes, and shiny black shoes. Asked how he could make the identification with much of the man's face covered, Cooper said he had met YG a lot and recognized his eyes, body type, height, walk, and demeanor. Let's be real. It's all well and good being like, yeah, I met him a lot, but then it's like, you know, and you defending Draco and his biggest op, dude that he's allegedly shot before, and you've been around him. I'm not saying it's 100% true, but I could believe that this person is making a genuine description of somebody that they think that they know, and we're gonna have to find out from the authorities whether that's credible. Cooper also testified members of the attacking group taunted Draco during the confrontation. I mean, clearly it was an ambush. Like, clearly it was a ambush that was designed to take out Draco the Ruler, and this was a long-running vendetta. The homie's gonna get ya, is what YG said when he was asked about Draco. It said he recalled hearing statements including, "Is this Draco? Is that who I think it is? What do you want to do? And now we finally got him." Y'all are cooked if that's really what went down. Cooper also reported hearing blood gang expressions including "Suwoo" and "Sup blood," which I believe you could even hear in the footage from the scene. There was some Suwoos, I think, that could be heard if I remember correctly. Or I've definitely seen people testify to the fact that "Suwoop" and blood expressions were heard. I mean, it said they heard it. They witnessed individuals beating their chest. I'm not gonna lie though, all this stuff talking about, is this Draco? Is that who I think it is? What do you want to do? Now we finally got him. These guys got a long-running vendetta. It makes sense. It says, earlier in the deposition, Cooper said he previously intervened when the 2 rappers encountered each other. outside of a recording studio. According to Cooper, YG approached Drakeo and asked what's up with all that internet stuff. Cooper said he had to defuse that encounter. Was that before, or was that the time that Drakeo allegedly shot YG in the hip outside of the studio? We don't know. Cooper also cited Drakeo's 2021 song Ingleweird, interviews and music released by artists associated with the two camps as evidence of an escalating dispute. He recalled a summer 2021 interview featuring YG and two other artists in which, according to Cooper, someone said, "We don't do that internet stuff. The homie's going to get you," which was on No Jumper. They didn't mention it, but that's what it was. Cooper testified that the history led him to warn Drakeo before the festival that more security was needed. He believed there was a substantial chance the two artists or their entourages would encounter each other as Drakeo left the stage or festival grounds. Why wasn't Drakeo moving correctly? That I don't get. Whack 100 told me that he was warned by multiple people and he didn't wait. He didn't have his security patterned. It's so disappointing. It says all parties are back in court for the first of two hearings. August the 13th, covering motions to dismiss the case brought by Bobby D Presents and Live Nation. That's crazy. I don't know if I can just go walk into a civil case, but if I can, I might have to go and check that out because that's crazy. If YG does get arrested and put on trial, we're gonna have to observe the trial, because at the end of the day, the Drakeo the Ruler death was probably one of the most tragic deaths of an LA rapper in the modern era. I would say up there with Nipsey, the death of Drakeo, and obviously, you know, long before that. It didn't happen in LA, and he wasn't from LA, of course, but, you know, Tupac kind of being this legendary East Coast versus West Coast gangster rap war, and obviously that ended up in Biggie getting killed as well. But I think Drakeo really had the motion, and you know, as we've kind of heard in some of the stuff I spoke about yesterday, Drakeo kind of took the crown from YG when it came to actually who had the most motion out of LA rap culture, music in general. And so I do think that he probably had a serious vendetta against him, and there's a lot to this story. So I'm going to keep track of this. I'll let you know as this develops. This was a crazy development, and I'm honestly just hoping that this crime does eventually get solved, no matter who did it, because just like I said in the David case, at the end of the day, we need the streets to be safe. You can't be going to music festivals getting stabbed in the neck and killed. Doesn't matter who you've dissed, doesn't matter who you've insulted. As they said in the Folio trial, Drakeo might have done some things that made it more likely that this happened to him, but you can't say. There's just, this needs to get solved, and it will get solved eventually. And I'll let you guys know when it does. But I'm done for now. I'm so tired. I'm going to go to bed, and I'm going to get up tomorrow and do it all over again. No more courthouse David, though, thankfully, for now. But go and check out the other reporting that I did on that today, and I will see you guys in the next video, whenever that is. Peace.